Welcome back. Today is the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, and we are celebrating his life of service. Of course, Dr. King stood for racial justice and equity, and there are organizations in the Queen City working to continue that legacy. Jayla D. Bowles from Charlotte Racial Justice Consortium is here. Good morning, Jayla.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. So just let's start off with the basics. What is the Racial Justice Consortium?
Yes, so it's pretty much a group of universities across Charlotte that have the main goal of spreading advocacy and making sure people can acknowledge our racial past here in the Queen City.
You said it right there, acknowledge our racial past. Why is that important?
It's simply important. A quote comes to mind, it's, if you don't acknowledge the future, you're condemned to repeat it. So making sure that you know where we came from so that way we don't go back there.
You know, sometimes people use that like colorblind approach, like maybe if we don't talk about it, it never happened. Why is it important to acknowledge those things and bring them to the light?
It's important simply because we know that the racial, past here in Charlotte, and even if our nation hasn't always been the best for people who look like you and I. So making sure that we're advocating for ourselves and letting people know that we do have a voice and that we want to make sure that everyone acknowledges it.
Of course. How does, the work that you do there fit in with Dr. King's legacy?
Yeah, so we actually have a few goals that we share with Dr. King's vision, and a lot of it is getting voting precincts in places that they were taken out of. So making sure that we have different places where people feel heard and that they're seen and that they know that we genuinely do care here in the Queen City.
Yeah, everybody talks about the I have a dream speech,
yes.
But, the fact is that piece of the speech came from the March for Jobs and Freedom, right? Like he stood for economic mobility and equity for so many people, something that, is kind of like a cliche here. So, I think that when we talk about his legacy, a lot of people do want to do better and they do want to get involved. They don't know where to start. What advice would you give them?
Simply just being the change that you want to see. So even if you acknowledge that there is a problem, which there is in the past, just learning from your mistakes or learning from mistakes of others, simply asking questions. Also following us at Charlotte RJC on social media so that way we can get you connected on how to serve as well.
Yeah. In this work, what has been the most rewarding piece of it for you?
Well, we do these things where we have we have racial healing circles, and so you have a diverse group of people who are, experiencing different things than you. From my perspective as a Black female, it's going to be different from, any other ethnicity or race. So just being able to see people's collective views come together for the ultimate goal of just making the nation, but also one step at a time, Charlotte better.
I really like that, those racial healing circles. How do you stay inspired and motivated when sometimes this work can be draining and heavy? What do you do to stay inspired?
Well, I like to always say I have a little sister who's 9 years old, Janiyah, and she keeps me motivated to know that I don't want the past to look like her present. So making sure that she has a clear view that, you're a Black woman in America, you can do whatever you put your mind to. And so that kind of keeps me motivated to push forward initiatives to make sure that people like her and myself are going to be heard.
I love that. You're doing it for your little sister.
Yes.
And if you can just leave the world a little better than when you started, you would have achieved your goal.
Yes, definitely.
Well, thank you for joining us today. One more time, tell people where they can find you.
Yes, so you can follow us at Charlotte RJC on Instagram, and yes, we'll get you connected.